It says, what is the slope and how do I calculate it when given a line on a coordinate plane? So slope is going to be a ratio of the rise, so that's our change in y, over the run of a line. It is the total change in y over the total change in x of a given line that's plotted on a coordinate plane. Now, telling you that may not make a whole lot of sense, but we're going to look at these three graphs and we're going to go ahead and determine exactly what the slope is by counting the rise and the run. Now, in order to count the rise and the run, we have to find 2 points on the graph. And when I say 2 points, 2 ordered pairs, and you always want to find it where you have a line that crosses and makes like a little T. Right on that T point, if the line crosses through that corner, you can use that as 1 point. And then you can use any other one as 1 point that crosses through it as well. So in this case, notice that our rise, and I'm going to do that in a black pen, we go up, I'm going to make a little kind of curly Q, 1 unit. That's 1 unit up. And if we look at our run, how far we go from here to here so that it lines up with this point on top, moving from left to right, it goes over 1 point to get to it to touch it. So that means that our run is also 1. Well, when we see that, we know that our rise is 1, so we're going to write a 1 for rise. It went up 1 unit, and then our run went to the right 1 unit. So in this case, when we talk about slope, our slope is going to be 1 over 1, which if you put that in your calculator, it just equals 1. So let's look at a problem that maybe looks a little bit more complicated because of the values that it uses. So on this next problem, I want you to notice that when we're looking right here at this graph, that these count by 5s. So this is 5, 10, 15, 20, and this moves up by 5s, 5, 10, 15, 20. So we have to take that into account when we're going to count the rise over run as a ratio so that we can determine our slope, because that's what slope is. It's just a ratio of rise over run. So now that we know about these changes in the increments on the graph, let's go ahead and count our rise over run. So if I look right here, and I'll start from this point, notice it's already giving you a point, and I want to go ahead and I want to go up until it lines up with this point. So if you notice, if I come out from this 10, I'm going to make a real faint line so you can kind of see that line. That's where it touches. We go up from 5 to 10. So we went up 5 units. Even though we moved up 1 space, because we were lined up here with 5, and we moved up to where 10 is, because that's where this one lines up, is at 10, we actually moved up 5 units. So our rise was 5. So I'm going to write a 5 right there. Then when we talk about run, we have to go all the way over till we touch this point. So we go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But notice when we moved up 6, right? We moved up by 5s. We moved up 5 units at a time. So we should be counting by 5s instead of 1s. So you could say 6 times 5, and that gives you 30. Or you could count by 5s from 15 all the way over until it lines up with this one, which is at positive 15. So we moved up 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30. So to go from here all the way to here, we actually moved 30 units. So our run is going to be 30. So now when we write our slope, we just put our rise over our run, and so I have 5 over 30, and if you put this in the calculator, it'll simplify it, and that'll give you 1 over 6, and that's your final answer. And you always want to give the slope in simplified terms. So what I hope you realize that we're doing right now is we're actually looking at our change in y over our change in x. So and when we do that, right, that's going to give me my slope. So whenever I have my change in y, which is delta y, over my change in x, which is delta x, that gives me slope. So let's look at this last one. And now in this last one, notice that there's no numbers. If there's no numbers, you just count by ones. So for instance, let's look at our rise. So to get from here, lined up where this dot is, we got to go up 1, 2, 3. And notice it is now lined up with the other dot on the line. So we went up 1, 2, 3. So we went up 3 units over here. Now when it comes to our run, we went over 1, 2, right? 1, 2. So this one is 2 units for our run. So our rise is 3. Our run is 2. So when we write our final answer, we're going to end up with 3 over 2. Now that can't be further simplified, so that is our answer.